Alright, so I made a post a while back on my Care Bears Tumblr page, basically saying that I had pretty much worked out in my head a working timeline for all of the different Care Bears media out there, anything from the DIC universe all the way up to Unlock the Magic as we have it today. Spoiler alert, they are not in the correct order. None of the series that we have seen have all been in the correct order as to what they should have been if we go by each of the rules of each of the series and how they are laid out, plus the different bears in them. Yes, my cat is laying in my lap. She is a cuddlebug. If you can see her, hopefully you can, because you deserve that. And by the way, I apologize if my camera is super staticky, and if I keep looking down, I do have my notes here about which ones are in what order. Just because I made the theory in my head does not mean that I remember it exactly every time that I try and think of it. So I have it written down here. I did forget to throw in Journey to Joke-A-Lot and Wish Bear's Big Wish. However, I do know whereabouts they would fall and the reasonings why things go in the order that they are. Okay? Let's get started. Okay, so before we get started, it is very important to note that there are different bears that come in at later points and bears that exist in other places. The biggest thing about the Care Bears universe that is extremely confusing and that I wish that they would clear up is the exact map of the Kingdom of Caring. Because as we do know it, Care-a-Lot consists of at the very least, the Kingdom of Caring, where the Care Bears live, the Forest of Feelings, where the Care Bears' cousins lives, and the Silver Lining, where at least Bluster and the Bad Crew live. That is what we know for sure in canon. However, I do have a few ideas, including that the Silver Lining is where all of the major villains from either the Nelvana series and the DIC series will come from, as well as Beastly in the Netflix series, but I don't count him. So let's get started with the very first thing on the very first part of the list I think everyone can sort of agree on, and that is the Nelvana Care Bears 2 movie, A New Generation, which, if you go by the order that they were released in, should be a prequel, but it doesn't work that way. In the very first movie, we are introduced with True Heart Bear and Noble Heart Horse, who are respectively the mother of the Care Bears and the father of the Care Bears' cousins. Obviously not exactly, as the bears and the cousins are all orphans that True Heart and Noble Heart rescue. From where? We're not sure. We're not quite sure where they come from. All we know is they somehow end up on Earth on a dinky little boat in the middle of a storm with Darkheart chasing them, as they are risen up into the sky on a big rainbow to be met with the big star and introduced into the Kingdom of Caring. This is where a map of Care-a-Lot will come in handy, because I have a feeling that all of the bears all come from different villages, towns, whatever, all around Care-a-Lot that are all surrounding the Kingdom of Caring and Forest of Feelings. Or maybe some of them even came from the other side of the Silver Lining, because we do know that there has to be other villages because of Perfect and Polite Panda, and where Grams and the twins come from, because they obviously do not start with them in the series, and Grams is older than True Heart and Noble Heart, but that is not explained how. The very second series, we jump all the way into the 2000s with Adventures in Care-a-Lot. Now, of course, in this series, this is a Care Bears only series. The cousins are not introduced into this. What I believe would have happened was, after the events of A New Generation, True Heart and Noble Heart decided to separate the Care Bears and the Care Bear cousins and have the cousins stay exclusively in the Forest of Feelings while the bears stay in the Kingdom of Caring. With that leads to the very adolescent, simple designs and characteristics of the bears in Adventures in Care-a-Lot. what happens to Oopsie after all of this? I mean, I guess you could say that he might have made a really, really big oopsie and ended up disappearing, but of course we are not for certain. Alright, so the next series that we will be including will be Unlock the Magic. Now, they do seem a little bit older, they have more mature ideas, not entirely, but they do have some more mature ideas, and they are able to work together as groups, and it seems like True Heart is letting the bears branch out on their own and explore the Kingdom of Caring and Care-a-Lot more and more, although they still cannot go to Earth. That is one of the more important things, is that the bears have yet to go to Earth after the movie. In Unlock the Magic, this is whenever we are introduced with the silver lining and the idea of something other than what we see with the bears. And this is probably their first time since they were itty bitty, since they were cubs, that they are introduced with anything other than good. Obviously excluding the villains like Grizzly in Adventures in Care-a-Lot. So now they are seeing a whole new path in Care-a-Lot, and they are probably going to find the river that runs from Kingdom of Caring to Forest of Feelings while they are in the Silver Lining. With this door open and they find all of this new stuff, they are able to explore more, mature, grow, and they are all able to sort of settle into identities more so than they did in Adventures of Care-a-Lot, which was more so focused on just the friendship, the sharing, the very simple ideas for small children that they would have been. So very next in the timeline will be the Care Bears movie, the very first Care Bears movie produced by Nelvana. In this movie, it is more of a retelling from Nicholas what is happening, probably obviously Nicholas and the other two kids that I cannot remember the names of right off the top of my head, but it is coming from their second-hand stories of what is happening, so we can only go off of their accounts and assume that details are flubbed a little bit, coming from how the Care Bears get to the Forest of Feelings and re-find their cousins. At this point, the Care Bears are matured, they are grown, and it seems like they have just completely forgotten about the cousins. They've forgotten that they even exist, and being so far away from the Kingdom of Caring and the mission of showing all children on Earth how to care, the cousins have lost their belly badges and the ability to do a Care Bear stare or anything like that. So they are left with blank tummies, as they started with as little babies whenever they came up to the Kingdom of Caring. That is the most important part of this movie, is that, as well as the bears and the cousins being able to branch out onto Earth and start to explore a little bit more on Earth. After this, we can probably safely say that the Netflix series would come next, as True Heart would probably pull back a little bit and want the bears not going on Earth as much as possible unless she is there to assist them. So the bears instead bring the kids up to them. And of course we have Beastly being Beastly. This could have been, King Beastly could have been first. He could have been how the Beastly from the Nelvana series was supposed to look. A king, a mighty man, well, not very mighty, but more important in his own self, his own villain, before No Heart came along. So, after the Netflix series, we would have had the Nelvana series. This is whenever No Heart would have taken more control, and maybe Beastly fears Shrieky, not because of her shrieks as we see them in the series, but maybe one shriek was so powerful enough it permanently knocked him into the ugly little brown man that we see throughout the entire series. The Nelvana series allows us to see the bears and the cousins join together, mingle around, and really get to know each other and explore each other's spaces more freely as well as the bears being able to more freely go to Earth and see the humans, see the children, and teach them down there. After this, we would have the DIC series. This is the one that is the most free with its ideas. The children are pretty well used to seeing the Care Bears, as well as the Care Bears' cousins, and the Care Bears being able to just sort of pop on down to Earth whenever they feel like. This is pretty easy to see throughout that is the most comfortable series for the bears and the cousins, and that seems to be the series that they are the most matured and grown in. We also see more bluish purple villains coming out of this series, as well as the Nelvana series, and that's what makes me think that maybe they come from the Silver Lining, just like Bluster, because they're of the same hue. I know that's kind of a silly thing to maybe relate them all to, but they are more similar to Bluster in that way, and maybe them being like that in the Silver Lining, if they were to be out of the Silver Lining long enough and not just keep going back, they would be able to turn good. They would be able to care more. I mean, we see that with Drab City. Drab City looked a lot like the Silver Lining, but once color was restored and once caring was restored, they all cared again. Maybe that's part of the secret with the Silver Lining. Now, out of this, I did leave out Journey to Joke-A-Lot and Wish Bear's Big Wish. These two movies kind of more so explore the way of the Silver Lining as well as other places. In Wish Bear's Big Wish, we see 3 new bears introduced that are not all about caring. This includes Me Bear, Too Loud Bear, and Messy Bear. So perhaps these guys came from another village maybe that Wish Bear was a part of before she was taken by Darkheart and then retaken by Trueheart and Nobleheart. And Journey to Joke-A-Lot just kind of shows again that there is more to Care-A-Lot than just the Kingdom of Caring, Forest of Feelings, and Silver Lining. It shows that there are more places like Joke-A-Lot to go to. And I also forgot to really throw in how the Cubs, Graham's Bear, and Perfect and Polite also play into that same idea as with bears like Me Bear, Messy Bear, and Too Loud Bear. With them, obviously, they come into the Nelvana series or into the very first movie as far as Baby Hugs and Baby Tugs are concerned, and they show bears that just sort of pop up out of nowhere. They show Baby Hugs and Baby Tugs as well as Graham's Bear. We're not quite sure where they came from. All we know is that somewhere within the Kingdom of Caring, within Care-A-Lot somewhere, there was a bear that was able to give birth to 2 twins, and we're pretty certain that it's not Graham's Bear, considering they call her Grams, which would relate her to being their grandmother. Of course, most of the bears do consider her grandmother. Could she possibly be maybe Trueheart's grandmother or mother? That would make more sense if she was that sort of relation, but where would she have come from? Where did Trueheart and Nobleheart come from? That is a question that we have not had answered, but I seriously doubt that we're going to get that answer. And then Perfect and Polite showed them coming from a village. I can't remember if it was on Earth or not, but it still shows that there were more bears, or cousins, whatever you would consider pandas to be to them, somewhere that got abandoned, that were not rescued by Trueheart and Nobleheart. Are there more? Are there more cousins, more bears? That could be determined. That could be found. We're not for certain, and I seriously doubt that we're going to get those answers unless, Clouco, you want to listen? Care Bears, hey, I put together your timeline for you. So yeah, I believe that is all. If I left anything out, I'm sure we could make some adjustments to the timeline to throw the rest of the media in. But I think this is a pretty well workable timeline for the Care Bears that makes more sense. And again, Clouco, hey, I just did your job for you and put your whole series in order for Care Bears. Hire me! I will try to make videos more consistently, try to think of more ideas for videos that I can make. And if you guys have ideas for anything, if you have any Care Bears questions, I'm pretty sure I could come up with an answer even if I have to just bull my way through it. And I will see you guys next time, I guess. Bye bye.